Hi, Dave Stewart here. I'm running for position of councillor on the Whakatane Ohopi ward of the Whakatane District Council and local body elections 2025. And I'm here to talk to you about basically the reasons why I'm doing that. And the first reason is because of the Local Government Reform Act of 2002. The government is going to reform that act with a whole lot of new ways to run councils and tell councils how they should run. This goes back to my other reason for running, which is the Three Waters debacle. I started paying attention to Three Waters in leading up to the 2023 election, and I thought there was a lot of nonsense being talked here, and there wasn't a lot of substance behind the attacks on Three Waters, which basically came down to the Māoris are coming to steal the water, the Māoris are coming to steal the water, and it didn't look like that to me at all. And when I started looking for alternatives that the opposition was presenting, there weren't a lot, but they did make vague references to allowing councils to borrow more money. And that's essentially what they've done. They've said that the burden of infrastructure that was so huge that it was only going to be solved by government was now going back to ratepayers. It's like your ball, your move, mate. And in Whakatane, our proper system to fix our system would cost $440 million in today's terms. We're settling for something much less sturdy and workable, but it's still going to cost us $200 million, and we don't have that. It's why we had Three Waters, because most of the councils in New Zealand are just like us. How do we fund it? Well, it's being set up by the government in such a way that the only way we're going to be able to fund it is to sell it off to a private investor and then buy water back. You know, kind of like the asset sales that Sir John Key championed, and we all voted against and told him we don't want none of that. Asset sales, jury's in. No, not guilty. We don't want to do it. But that's what the government is offering us as an alternative to this now. How do they do it? They just set it up so that it's impossible. Everything's impossible. There's no way that we can do this without big money. How are we going to make us do it? Well, they're going to reform the Local Government Act so that we just focus on our core business. And what is that? I thought we were. So what isn't core business? Now, this is what the government wants us not to be doing. Running cemeteries, public toilets, providing toilets for the public, not core business. Community safety, animal control, road safety, building consenting, monitoring and certifying food premises. What could possibly go wrong? Liquor licensing and gambling premises monitoring. No corruption in New Zealand, never happen here. Resource consenting and enforcement, oh dear. Annual planning, annual reports, long-term plan process, audits, bylaws review and enforcement. Noise control, local policies, health and safety compliance, all nice to haves, not core business. Get someone else to provide this to the ratepayers on a user-pays basis. Like how we can't turn power on now because we sold the power companies to private interests, and they are playing the game really well and screwing us to the point where people are now defaulting on their power bills because they just don't have the money to pay them. And old people for a few years now have just gone to bed when it gets cold rather than stay up because they can't afford to turn on the heater that's powered by the dams that their taxes built, and the electricity infrastructure that they built, some of them with their bare hands and their tools. They can no longer afford to turn the power on. So we're going to have a user-pay system for cemetery. Well, how does that work, Dave? Well, I'll tell you. It works by me buying the cemetery off the council, calling it my property, and treating each of those plots like a flat. and charging the tenant, your grandfather, say, for being there. That's my property and that's my property investment and I'm entitled to do that, and that's the law. So what if you haven't got the money? Well, that's no problem. We will deliver your property. Your grandfather, you call it your grandfather, I call it your property. We'll deliver that to you and you can do what you like with it. We'll do that at your cost. And we will reclaim that site and we will lease it out to someone else for 10, 20, 50 years, whatever they can afford. That's how a private enterprise, for-profit, non-publicly owned cemetery works. What about public toilet? How can you privatise a public toilet? Well, you just sell it, like a state house. You just sell it. All the toilets get sold to Public Toilets Incorporated, and you can subscribe. You can pay for a month if you're going on holiday somewhere, or you can pay for a year if you live here, and you can just get a swipe card. And every time you want to go to the toilet, you just rock up, a swipe card, and you go, do your business, out you come. Oh, left your card at home, not a problem. We do accept Visa and MasterCard, and there is tap and pay with a small surcharge. And this is what the solution is to Three Waters. This is the alternative to Three Waters. Complete user pays on all of the functions that our rates pay for now. So what's in it for us? Well, a rates cap of just 2%. So we'll pay the same unaffordable rates as now with a 2% cap, and we'll get a lot less for it. That's the deal that the government has got on the table for you ratepayers. Oh, I say there's got to be a way of getting a better deal than that, and that's why I'm running for council. I'm going to prosecute that argument, and I'm going to prosecute it aggressively, and I'm going to prosecute it to the highest places in this land. And I won't shut up until I get something back in return for my rates. There are a lot of alternatives to selling the family jewels before we do that. I'll talk about that in my next video.